All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about one of the most storied franchises in all of sports, an original six team. That's one of the six crews that basically was the NHL for 25 years before it blew up. We're talking about a team with a history as tough and as proud as the city it calls home. This is the story of the Detroit Red Wings.
And it really all starts with this, doesn't it? The winged wheel. You see it, you know exactly who it is. It's more than just a logo, though. It's this perfect symbol of speed, of motion, and, of course, of the industrial heart of the Motor City.
And you know, the team's connection to Detroit is so deep that the city itself earned this nickname, Hockeytown. And get this, it's not just some cool nickname fans came up with. Nope, the team actually trademarked it back in 1996. That's how much it means.
So, why Hockeytown? Well, this number right here is a pretty big clue. 11. 11 Stanley Cup championships. That is the most of any US-based team in the NHL. It's a legacy that's literally built on winning.
Okay, so how did it all get started? Let's wind the clock back and see how this team became such a pillar of the league. The franchise was actually founded way back in 1926, but they weren't always the Red Wings. They started out as the Cougars, then for a couple of years they were the Falcons, before finally in 1932 landing on the name we all know today. And man, what a ride it has been. This timeline really tells the whole story, doesn't it? It's this epic saga. You've got the incredible rise to glory, then this long, painful fall, the arrival of a single player who changes everything, and then finally, this amazing return to the top. It's a classic sports story. So let's start with those early glory days. This is the period where the Red Wings went from being just another team to an absolute powerhouse in the NHL. So the big turning point was in 1932. The new owner, James Norris, he decides to rebrand the team. And the story goes, he borrowed this winged Wheelers logo from his old cycling club. How perfect is that for a team in the heart of the auto industry? Just like that, the Detroit Red Wings were born. And you know what? It did not take long for that new identity to pay off. Just a few years later, bam, they win their first Stanley Cup in 1936. And then, to prove it wasn't a fluke, they did it again in 1937. They went back to back. The dynasty was officially underway. But the real golden age, that came in the late 40s and 50s, and it was all powered by one of the most famous lines in hockey history, the production line. At the center of it all was the one, the only, Gordie Howe, playing alongside Sid Abel and Ted Lindsay. I mean, this trio was just unstoppable. And just look at how dominant they were. I mean, the numbers are staggering. 4 Stanley Cups in just 6 seasons. Think about that. That includes a perfect, undefeated playoff run in 1952. Oh, and they also won 7 straight regular season titles. This wasn't just a good team. This was a juggernaut.
But you know how it goes. What goes up must come down. And for the Red Wings, the fall was every bit as dramatic as the rise. After all that success, the franchise just fell apart.
Years of bad trades, aging stars, ownership troubles, it all just took a massive toll. And things got so bad, the team earned this awful new nickname, the Dead Wings. For almost 2 decades, this once proud franchise was, well, a punchline. And if you want to see just how bad it got, look at this. In their 35 years of glory, they missed the playoffs only 4 times. But during the Dead Wings era, they made it only twice. It was a complete and total reversal of fortune. So how do you save a legendary franchise from a nosedive like that? Well, sometimes it starts with just one draft pick, a player who would come to be known simply as the captain. In 1983, the Red Wings drafted this young kid named Steve Yzerman. And he was the guy. He was the catalyst. He became the face of new hope for the entire city and would go on to be the longest-serving captain, not just for the Wings, but in the entire history of the NHL. But Yzerman couldn't do it by himself, and that's the key here. Management was smart. They built a championship team around him, piece by brilliant piece. They brought in the legendary coach Scotty Bowman. They drafted a defenseman who would change the game in Nicholas Lidstrom, and they added the electrifying Sergei Fedorov. All of a sudden, the core was there. So with all the pieces in place, the stage was set for one of the greatest turnarounds in sports history. The Dead Wings were about to become champions again. A huge part of that comeback was this totally revolutionary unit known as the Russian Five.
These 5 guys brought a style of hockey to the NHL that nobody had really seen before. It was all about puck possession and creativity, completely different from the grinding, physical dump-and-chase game that was so popular then. They literally changed how the game was played. And with their help, this number, it finally meant something again. 42. That's how many years the Stanley Cup drought had lasted. 42 long years. And in 1997, they did it. They finally broke the curse and brought the cup back to Hockeytown. But the celebration was cut short by an unbelievable tragedy. Just 6 days after that incredible win, a limo accident left defenseman and Russian 5 member Vladimir Konstantinov with a career-ending brain injury. It was devastating. But the team rallied around him. They dedicated the entire next season to Vladdy, and in one of the most emotional moments in sports history, they won the cup again and brought it to him on the ice. The new dynasty was in full swing. This is the team celebrating their 2002 championship, their 3rd cup in just 6 seasons. They had built another powerhouse, just loaded with future Hall of Famers, and they were dominating the league all over again. This whole incredible run was capped off with their 11th and most recent Stanley Cup win in 2008. That victory cemented the legacies of a whole new generation of Red Wings legends, guys like Nicklas Lidstrom, Pavel Datsyuk, and Henrik Zetterberg. So when you look back at the entire story, the soaring highs of the dynasties, the crushing lows of the Dead Wings era, and that triumphant return, it really leaves you with a great question. Is a team's legacy defined by the number of championships they win? Or is it about the resilience they show when they hit rock bottom? After 100 years of glory and struggle, what do you think truly defines a team like this?